Hello, everyone. Welcome to Celsius 233, your go-to place for fiction book summaries. Today, we will step into the world of The Valley of Fear by Arthur Conan Doyle. The Valley of Fear is a detective novel by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, first published in 1915. It is the fourth and final full-length Sherlock Holmes novel, and it sees Holmes unraveling a mysterious case involving murder, secret societies, and deception. The novel is divided into two parts. The first focuses on a murder investigation in England, while the second reveals the backstory behind the crime, set in America. Plot summary. Sherlock Holmes sat at his breakfast table, staring thoughtfully at a slip of paper that had arrived that morning. Dr. John Watson, ever the curious companion, inquired about it. Holmes revealed it was a message from a man named Porlock, a secretive individual connected to the criminal mastermind, Professor Moriarty. The message, however, was in cipher, and without the key, it was unreadable. Before Watson could express his frustration, another letter arrived, this time from Porlock himself, warning Holmes to abandon the message as the danger was too great. Intrigued, Holmes refused to give up. Soon after, the arrival of Inspector Alec MacDonald of Scotland Yard brought news of a gruesome murder at Burlstone Manor. Holmes knew this could be no coincidence. The game was afoot. Holmes, Watson, and MacDonald set out for Burlstone Manor, an ancient house surrounded by a moat, where they met Cecil Barker, a close friend of the murdered man, John Douglas. Barker explained that he had discovered Douglas' body late the previous night. Douglas had been shot at close range with a shotgun, his face nearly obliterated by the blast. A peculiar detail was the open window in the room, though the drawbridge outside had been raised, making it impossible for anyone to leave the manor after the crime. Barker found a card with the initials VV341 beside the body, adding to the mystery. The situation was perplexing, but Holmes suspected the answer lay not in the obvious, but in the hidden layers of the past. As the investigation deepened, the housekeeper revealed that John Douglas had always been a man of mystery, having arrived in England from America only a few years prior with his wife. His life before that, especially his time in America, was shrouded in secrecy. Although well-liked by the locals, Douglas had always appeared wary, as if expecting some looming danger. His wife, too, had shown signs of nervousness, particularly when her husband was away. It was clear to Holmes that whatever had caused Douglas' death was connected to this hidden history. Holmes inspected the scene of the crime with his characteristic attention to detail. The placement of the shotgun, the open window, and the peculiar marks on the windowsill all suggested something unusual. The murder weapon, a sawn-off shotgun, was not commonly found in England, leading Holmes to believe the crime had ties to America, where Douglas had lived much of his life. The missing wedding ring from Douglas' finger also struck Holmes as a significant clue. Holmes' suspicions were soon confirmed when he revealed to Watson and MacDonald that John Douglas had once been a man named Bertie Edwards, a former Pinkerton detective. Years before, Edwards had infiltrated a dangerous American criminal organization known as the Summaries, who operated in a coal mining region called the Valley of Fear. The Summaries were a ruthless group, enforcing their own brutal form of justice through violence and murder. Edwards had successfully brought the group down by gathering enough evidence to send their leaders to prison, but this had earned him lifelong enemies. He had fled America, changed his name to John Douglas, and started a new life in England. But the shadow of his past had followed him across the ocean. The second half of the mystery lay in unraveling how these events led to the murder. Holmes deduced that Douglas had been living in constant fear of retribution. A man named Ted Baldwin, one of the Summaries whom Douglas had helped convict, had tracked him down to exact his revenge. However, Holmes proposed a daring theory. Douglas had not been killed by Baldwin, but instead had staged his own death to escape this final threat. Baldwin had indeed come to Burlstone Manor to murder Douglas, but in a dramatic turn of events, Douglas had killed Baldwin in self-defense. The gruesome injuries on the body had made identification difficult, allowing Douglas to switch identities with his attacker. With the help of his friend Cecil Barker, Douglas had created the illusion of his own murder. Holmes' theory was confirmed when Barker and Mrs. Douglas confessed the truth. John Douglas had survived the attack by Baldwin, but knowing that more men from the Summaries would come after him, he decided to fake his death and disappear once and for all. The missing wedding ring had been part of this ruse, as Douglas intended to leave behind no personal connection to his former life. Barker, loyal to his friend, had helped carry out the plan, hoping it would buy Douglas the time he needed to flee. Yet, even as the truth came to light, there was a darker force at play. Holmes was certain that Moriarty, ever the silent puppeteer, had orchestrated Baldwin's mission to kill Douglas. Moriarty's vast criminal network was ever-reaching, and though Douglas had escaped for now, the shadow of Moriarty loomed large, as it did over so many of Holmes' cases. As Holmes and Watson prepared to leave Burlstone, the detective mused on the nature of the crime. It was a tale not just of murder, but of the long arm of vengeance stretching across time and continents. Though John Douglas had managed to evade his past for a while, the Valley of Fear had never truly let him go. That's all for now, but if you're loving Sherlock Holmes series, there's more waiting for you. Find the other books by Arthur Conan Doyle in the description or on Celsius 233. Remember, while our summaries capture the essence, they can never replace the full experience of reading the book. If this summary intrigued you, consider diving into the complete story, buy the book, and immerse yourself in Arthur Conan Doyle's original work. Bye-bye, take care, have fun.